Hello and welcome back to Data Entry Part 2. In this little lesson in this next section, I wanted to just introduce one new topic to you. If you look at this form, you'll notice that this time I have two text boxes and I have two labels where it says first name over here and it says last name. Those are just regular labels, but I went in and changed the font, changed the color, and I think I made it a little bit bigger, like 10 point, just to make it look a little different. But it's the same thing as the rest of them, rather, are the same as the first part. I get the same buttons and we got the same label down here with the form border style set to 3D. But let me show you what happens when you hit OK this time. What it does is it takes whatever they type in the first text box for their first name and it connects it with whatever they type in the text box for their last name. Now this process has a terrible name to it. It's called string concatenation, and you need to know that word concatenation because they use it everywhere in object-oriented programming. Basically what it means is you're going to take one piece of text and attach it to another piece of text to make one long piece of text. And in Visual Basic we call text data, like names and alphanumeric characters, we just call it string data. So it's a string data type. So that's all this thing did. And the only other thing I want to point out to you is when I took Jeff in this case and I concatenated it or connected it with Anderson, I also added a space. Now I don't think you can tell very well on the computer, but I did add a space here so that it would print out nicely. So let me show you how I did that. First of all, when we go to the code, a couple ways to go to code, remember. If your form is on screen like this, you can go over here like this. And I want to show you something right now that I just thought of. Sometimes when you open Visual Studio and you load your project, and you can see up here it says Data Entry Part 2, you don't see anything, and students always panic and think, where's my stuff, where's my stuff? All you have to do is go up here to this little icon that says Solution Explorer, or go to View, Solution Explorer, and then when this window pops up you can then double click on your form and find all your stuff. Okay, sometimes it does that, sometimes it doesn't. But I just wanted to show you that. And again, if you want to go to your code, what I do is I just click on this little code thing here, but you can right click over here and go to View Code. You can go to the View menu and look at code, okay, like I showed you in part 1. Now I'm going to close this so we have some room. First of all, the btn end click event is exactly the same as the other one. We just put me.close in there to end the program. And in this case, when I clear the text boxes, I now have an extra text box. In the first step all I had was a first name, and now I have a last name text box, what I called txt last name. And if you'll recall from the last lesson, when I want to clear a text box in this new version of 05 Basic, I can put in dot clear, and clear is a method that tells Mr. Textbox, go clear yourself. The labels, as you may recall, don't have a clear method yet. Maybe they will in the next version, but right now if you want to clear a label, you just set its text property to equal to nothing basically, and we show that by putting two double quotes together. Okay? Well, let's take a look at how I connected the two strings, the first name and the last name, and also added a space. When they click OK, it triggers the button OK click event. And Visual Basic stops what it's doing and jumps in here to see if it's supposed to do anything. And this is how I did it. I said the label that I call LBL receipt, the .text property, because remember everything's held in the text property of these things, is going to be equal to whatever they typed in the txt first name text box and its text property, because that's what holds it in memory. I'm going to take that and use this little ampersand, add a space, and see what I did? I just put a double quote, I put in a space and another double quote, and I said keep going and use an ampersand, and also take whatever is in the last name text box dot text. Alright? So this whole process is called concatenation. And again, all I'm doing is taking what's in this text box, I'm appending or adding to it this little space, and then I'm going to keep going and append what is over here. Now what happens is, in this label txt, the label receipt.txt, the text property, this label is actually going to hold one long piece of text or one long piece of string that in this case would say Jeff space Miller or whatever the name was, or Anderson. Okay? So just kind of get used to it. I know it looks kind of funny. In previous versions of VB they let us use a plus sign, like this, and it still works, but I'm going to recommend you don't do it, because it may be in a couple years they'll decide that that doesn't work at all, and then you're going to be up the creek. So the new version of 05.NET says let's use the ampersand, so that's what we're going to do. In C# actually they use plus signs, so go figure. What are you going to do? Okay, so in this little section then, what I've introduced to you is in just string concatenation, and I just wanted to take a minute and show it to you because it just takes a little bit of practice. It looks a little weird at first, but I'm sure you'll do fine with it. All right.